ocean. You say you the big fish. I'm looking for you.
What's going on, you guys? So as things start to shape up for the year 2023 in the sport of boxing, new storylines are starting to develop. Old storylines, we waiting on them to conclude. But Terence Crawford gets attacked by promoters. And it seemed like a lot of these guys, especially the one that I'm about to drop right now, has something against Terence Bud Crawford. Hit that like button for your boy. We on Bushido Boxing TV. This is where we gonna be. But Lou Dibella and Leonard Ellerbe. First, let's start with Leonard Ellerbe, right? So let's start with Leonard Ellerbe. Now, Leonard Ellerbe kind of drops the bomb on Terence Crawford's most recent pay-per-view numbers. And he also drops the bomb on some other fighters as well by him doing this. And Fanon Boxing was on Twitter and he said this, quote, "How is it that Terence Crawford could sell 120K on pay-per-view, Canelo could sell 800K, Fury could sell 500K, Joshua over $1 million, but the Pirates can only find a way to steal from Didnt, Gervonta, and Errol. Real convenient." End quote. This is what Fanon had to say. And yeah, he do got a point, right? It seemed like the Pirates only attack certain guys when it comes to pay-per-views, right? But Leonard Ellerbe rebuttals and says this, quote, "Crawford didn't do no 120K in his last fight. Canelo did that with Plant on Showtime." Wow. So he said that Canelo Plant did 120K on Showtime. So if Canelo Alvarez did 120K with Caleb Plant, what would you imagine that Gervonta did with Hector Luis Garcia and some of these other guys that's been on pay-per-view more recently with Showtime, right? Then he says, he's the biggest star in the sport, by the way. Who did Fury do 500K with? It damn sure wasn't in the U.S. Joshua does great numbers in the U.K., but there's a big, big difference price point in the U.K. versus U.S. And he's right. The pay-per-views in the U.K. are much, much cheaper, much more affordable than us Americans pay with the $79.99 and up pay-per-view price, right? UK pay-per-views are typically about, what, $25 in U.S. money, right? $25, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. But they don't pay as much as Americans pay for pay-per-view. And by return, they get a lot better pay-per-view numbers, right? Not to mention Joshua is a pretty big draw. Boxing is a mainstream sport over there in the UK, yada, yada, yada. So we know how that goes, right? But he said Terence Crawford didn't do no 120K. I mean, how would Leonard Ellerbe know this, right? How would he know what Crawford pay-per-view numbers really were? I mean, look, you guys, I know pay-per-views is one of those things, right? But you already know my stance on pay-per-view. Whatever numbers they put out, I don't believe them. I believe there's significantly lower than the numbers that they're putting out. And now it's been reported that Tank Davis did 200 to 215K. Do I believe it? No, I don't. I believe it was probably lower than 215K, but they got to put out a decent number to make things look good. They got to put out a decent number to keep the leverage that Tank Davis has as a star in the sport of boxing, let alone going into a fight with Ryan Garcia. But he took a shot at Terence Crawford, said he didn't do no 120K. I mean, did he do 120K? I don't know. But whatever the case may be, BOK Prime seemed to be satisfied with the numbers considering the short notice event. It was their first boxing promotional event, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And with a guy named David Iveresian, who most fans in America don't know of. So 120 was the number for Terence Bud Crawford. I mean, we've seen much lower numbers, from other guys. Look, man, it is what it is with this pay-per-view thing, okay? If these guys want to see better numbers, if they want to stop the Pirates, put up the better fights, right? Put up the better quality fights and make sure they can come to a reality. We still talking about Spencer Crawford. It's been almost 5 years. Are we serious? But speaking of Terence Crawford, right? Lou Dibella has some things to say about Terence Bud Crawford. And Terence Crawford was on Twitter, and Terence Crawford says this: which is worse? Come on, Bud, with the which, right? I don't know if he did that on purpose or he just has grammar issues. But my man Bud needs to look, he has spell check when he's typing out these quotes and these phrases, right? And he says, which is worse? Losing and not making it to the playoffs, or making it to the playoffs and losing? And Lou Dibella, and if you've been following Lou Dibella, if you follow boxing, it seems like Lou Dibella has something against Terence Bud Crawford. Whatever the case may be, right? He just don't seem like maybe Crawford beat up one of his fighters early on or something, or maybe Crawford don't want to sign with him. But it seems like a lot of promoters looks at Terence Crawford as a problem, right? This is just based off what I've been noticing over the years when it came to promoters getting asked about certain fighters. And when you look at Lou Dibella, he'll say some things that lead you to believe that he's not in favor of Terence Bud Crawford. Maybe he's a hard to deal with, and he's a promoter's worst nightmare, right? But he says this: losing and not making it to the playoffs is way, way worse. The same way it's worse losing and not making it to the biggest fight of your career, or even worse, never losing and still not making it to the biggest fight of your career. End quote. Wow. He took a big shot at Terence Bud Crawford, saying that you're not losing and you still not making it to the biggest fight of your career, right? I mean, I don't know what to say, right? What do you guys think about this, right? Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Lou Dibella felt that he had to come out and say something in regards to what Terence Crawford had to say about some football, right? You not making the biggest fight of your career. I mean, Terence Crawford seemed to me like he was the only one trying to make the fight happen. But as we know, once the things fell apart, and we spoke about this before the things even fell apart, that if it did fall apart, it'll be hashtag blame Bud. Why? Because it's the easy thing to do. There's too many mysterious guys in suits behind the PBC. Al Heyman is the head of PBC, but you don't hear nothing from the guy, right? And then a fan reacts to this, right? And he says, smart of you to say this from the safety of your home. And then Lou Dibella reacts and says, really, what the F are you talking about? Who am I downing? I stated sports and hashtag boxing truth. Same applies to EJ and everyone else. I say that to anyone's face. If you can't make a deal for the biggest fight of your life, then you failed. I mean, who is he talking about? Now, he said EJ. He's taking a shot at EJ as well, right? Errol Spence Jr., just to kind of water down some of the flames from the Crawford army, the Bud army that was going to come down his throat, right? He said, look, I'm talking about EJ too. They failed to make the biggest fight a possibility. But in 2023, after Errol Spence fights Keith Thurman, whenever that fight gets made, he has 60 days to make the fight with Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford said, let negotiations go public this time so people can know exactly what's going on with this fight. He said, I'm waiting on you to spin the block, and that's the last we heard about it. Errol Spence hasn't said anything rebut to this, right? His team hasn't came out and said anything. Espinoza came out and said, well, we go still try to make it happen, right? Why don't everybody come to the table and let's get this thing done in 8 to 10 hours? This is what Terence Crawford said on his live video explaining the situation. Why we all can't sit down. Al Heyman, we can't do that. So now we got to revisit this thing after Errol Spence takes care of Keith Thurman, if he's successful against Keith Thurman at 154 pounds. But Lou Dibella felt that he needed to come out and say something about the biggest fight in boxing could be made. Now, if Lou Dibella was promoted for one of these guys, could he make this thing a reality? Ain't no telling. But tell me what you guys think. It seemed like promoters are coming for Terence Bud Crawford. Like, subscribe, holler at your boy. Peace out.